Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month for them.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear that. I would not.
Welcome to Dynamite Download. What's up, everyone?
It's real.
Welcome.
It's real, SPD.
That is right,
It's
man.
real.
Hey. Wow, what a night. What a way to cap things off. Welcome, everyone, to Dynamite Download, episode 44. Farty far, as they say across the pond.
Holy smokes, man.
Thank you,
What a
everyone, for
show.
joining us. As you know, if you're fans of Dynamite Download, we are huge Murder Hawk maniacs, and congrats to him
Good job,
on
Lance.
regaining the gold. And we will pay the debt that we have announced shortly. But first and foremost, we wanted to talk about what's been hot on the topic of Dynamite Download as of last Friday, our draft. And so Team Dynamite Download is going to have a fantasy draft, and it's going to be live.
I'm going to be taking
on
peanut butter
Friday.
and tuna. That's my first two picks, just so you know.
That's
right.
good for me. Hopefully, I'll get somebody better with my pick then.
Just kidding. Go ahead, guys. SPD, please go ahead, introduce the segment for us, because the draft has a lot of us excited. I know Bonds has been prepping. People are joking around Bonds right now. You have the analytics mind of the group, and you are certainly, I already saw, you have like spreadsheets and comments and all sorts of stuff. And everybody knows I'm going to be going, basically just going with my heart. This is SPD. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're basically approaching this, guys, and this is what's great. We want to get your feedback. If you could build your dream roster, each of us are going to have play general manager. We get to be promoter and pluck talent. Just like the Seattle Kraken, we get to pluck talent around the league and develop our own dream team. Right, SPD?
That is right, man. I mean, as we all have our favorites. I'm Team Babyface, your Team Heel, as we all know. And this came about, a couple whiskeys in, thinking about how we would book it, just kind of to show how we would be if we were in the shoes of Tony Khan. How would we put our A-list, our starters, essentially? We all have our favorites. And so this Friday night, live at 10 p.m., we're going to kick off Dynamite Download Draft, and we're going to have the rules up here shortly. And I know you guys have been hyping up for it. I haven't had too much time to think about it, and I know, like you said, analytics. No, I'm going off the cuff, and I know who I made a list of my favorites and who I want to build around, and I absolutely loved what Mindrunner, one of our favorite followers on there, he's calling Captain Crayfish, Moneyball Bonds. It's me, it's SPD. So we're going to see whose team that is the most, fan favorite. We're going to run a poll afterwards in that. And so, how are you guys feeling about the draft? I mean, I know, like I said, it's almost been a week since we announced it. You excited? How many mock drafts have you gone over in your head?
Well, I'll let Bonds jump in first, man. Go ahead, bud. I know you're chomping at the bit, dude.
Yeah, I'm done with my board. Everything's set. I'm ready to sleep well the next couple days. Prepare, get my stuff going here, and I'm gonna talk to a couple assistants I have here working on this with me.
Oh wow,
and,
nice.
We're gonna get everything nice and prepped well. So I just hope that tonight when we do our picks and we decide who's going 1, 2, 3, that it goes in my favor, so everything can kind of go in line. But if not, we've got 3 or 4 contingency plans here ready to go as well. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Mastermind, Mr. Analytics, Bonds. Are you leaning? Because for me, in typical crayfish fashion, I feel like everything hinges on what draft what pick I get. And so I'm already overthinking everything. Mindrunner mentioned it. I'm a man of emotions, y'all, and so I'm torn on my draft strategy. I think everything's going to go out the window if I don't get the pick that I want. So, Bonds, are you leaning towards a particular pick in this draft? If you could get it right, if you could maybe charm the gods in your favor, what pick would you want?
I mean, I feel like everybody would want the first pick. You want that top pick, you know?
Not I. I want,
not you, huh?
No, I don't. I don't want the first pick. You could have it.
I know.
You can have it.
Cool. Well, if it's up to you and me at the top, then I'll say, okay, bro, you can have the second pick, and we don't have to even do the second drawing. It's fine. Perfect. Here we go.
No one likes to be the meat in the sandwich. That's all I'm going to say. I want the turn, but not the first pick. So we'll see how it goes. We're really excited. SPD. Do you want to get into the rules, or when are we gonna because
let's
for
do
me
the
right
rules
now,
and then we can.
I am itching.
I'm getting
to
the
find
spinner
out where
ready.
I'm drafted. I want to
the
go
spinner.
third, which is so weird. I want the third pick.
Well, it's as we'll show right here, the rules that we've set for our draft.
If that happens, I swear to God. I swear to God.
there's no reason.
Why did you even put that in the universe? Now I need the first pick. You son of a gun. Oh,
if Bonds doesn't steal the DMD, I might, just to piss you off.
That's the typical thing that you would do, SPD.
You try to turn her baby face.
SPD tries to say that he's the baby face of this group, but he sure likes to dig into my side. He really likes to just dig in there. SPD, for those of you who are watching and wondering, when is this going to happen? Friday night, Flights and Fights. We're going to do our full 12-round mock draft. SPD, we talked about what the stipulations would be. Why don't you run us through these real quick, and then we'll get into me owning up to, and we're going to talk about that main event. I'm going to eat this delicious Jif peanut butter and jalapeno tuna sandwich in the honor of our new IWGP United States champion, the Murder Hawk, SPD, the Murder Hawk monster, the new. What a match that was, man. Let's get into this this mock draft, though, so we can start talking about that main event.
So we're made a little adjustments on this, but we're doing 12 rounds, but we're actually going to throw in a bonus pick at the end, kind of like a wild card pick. So 12 rounds, so essentially 13 total rounds, but your team has to consist, in any order that you pick 6 male performers, 3 female performers, and 3 tag teams.
I like the rules.
That last bonus pick can be any one of those 3. That is part of the bonus option. And we've decided, tag teams, it's the tag teams that have stuck together, not just some ones that have been thrown together. Let's say like a Jericho and,
I don't think
Hager
it would be right.
Or something.
It wouldn't be right to do the sex gods, right? I mean, that would be kind of cheating.
They're out. They haven't been consistent. So it's a consistent tag team, and we're all, it's a gentleman's draft. And so, we're not going to be throwing in Wardlow and, Sean Spears as a tag team, even though they're convincing as it. But even Penta and Eddie, we're not putting them. We're sticking to the core tag team in a team or a company that is built around tag teams. So that's some of the stipulations there. And the draft is going to be snake style. So the person picking the last in the one round will pick the first in the next round. So if you do get that glorious third pick, you're picking back-to-back picks, 3 and 4. So that could come in your effect.
Crayfish takes Pack and Britt Baker.
I know.
Yeah,
no trading.
You guys already know what I'm going to take. This isn't even fair.
That's
I don't
right.
know what you guys are taking. You guys already know my whole strategy. I'm awful at poker too for that very reason. Fuck, man, jeez.
And then also you get 2 minutes per round of picking, and you have to pick within that 2 minutes, or it defaults to Marco Stunt.
Hey, no problem. Heel Marco Stunt, world champ, baby. Let's go.
And so we're gonna roll with that here. The stipulation.
So I really we debated it. I think this is gonna be great. It's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Just a lighthearted thing. Friday night's gonna be a blast. We're gonna go through the draft. We're each gonna talk about our picks. Maybe you guys at home are gonna take score. Grade the draft picks. That's always a lot of fun.
Yes, please grade the draft.
Grade the draft picks. Did Crayfish fall in love with a certain prospect and maybe reach? You think, or did Bonds let his over analytical mind maybe get himself in a tizzy and try to outsmart the whole room? We gotta judge these things. SPD, I know you haven't spent enough time yet, but there's a lot of time between when you get your pick, when we find out your pick, I think that'll lock things up quite a bit because I think that really changes everything heading into the draft. So, SPD, are you ready?
Yes, I'm going to pull up our fancy wheel that Bonds found. And so the first spin, do we want to do a practice spin just to practice it? See what it looks like?
Let's just go for it.
No, let's just do it.
So the first spin will pick third in the draft, right?
Yep.
Or first?
First pick. This first is the third pick
Of round one.
Yes.
Yep, and then it'll be 2, and then the person that doesn't get picked will give.
Okay, so we are spinning right now.
I said I wanted the third pick. We'll see.
I hope you get it, Mike.
After you guys talked like that, maybe I don't want the third pick. We'll see.
Pack and Britt Baker will go 1-2.
Here we go.
Here we
go. Here we go. Who is it going to be? Oh, of course, Team Heel gets the third pick.
All right.
My God.
That's what I wanted. Let's see if it falls the way that I want. Let's see.
You're the winner.
I won.
You did it.
You got the last
Remove
pick.
him, SPD. There we
You
go.
know what?
Okay,
That's what I
remove him.
wanted. So I'm happy.
All right,
There we
so
go.
this will be for pick number 2.
Yep.
All right, so the second pick in the draft will go to.
And I got to think Hangman Adam Page and MJF are got to be the top 2 picks. Ooh,
So
Bonds. I
has the
know.
number 1 overall pick.
All right. All
Okay.
right.
Chicken
So,
dinner.
all right.
So
Can't wait.
Bonds,
It's gonna
be fun.
congratulations. This feels like an Andrew Luck type of situation.
Yeah.
After talking to you, I have at least maybe it's all smoke screens. I know that draft season, there's lots of smoke screens that go out there, but can't wait to see who Bonds takes with the number 1 overall pick. SPD, if you were in his shoes, who would you take?
I'm not going to reveal my strategy. Darby Allin. Darby Allin.
I
There
tried.
you go.
I was so close to
That
getting you
was
to admit.
super good job.
Oh man, I was so close, dude.
Who are you picking
All right.
at 3 and 4, bro?
I literally with you guys, you already know who I want. You're already.
Yeah, it's gonna be a turn
now
of
I just
D&D
gotta
and Pack.
wait in agony until I find out whether or not one of you hoodlums, try to steal them from underneath me.
Right. It's gonna be a Pac and Britt Baker turn. So, do I go female first overall or what?
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah. For someone who's been the critic of the women's division, that would be an interesting pick by you. I'll tell you that much.
That would
dude.
indeed.
If you just take DMD and Thunder back to back, and then just leave us scrambling for the women's division picks, and just run it.
Yeah. I like back-to-back picks, so I'm not feeling pick 2, but that's just me. Anyway, speaking of picks, let's talk about the amazing card that we had tonight. Full of matches. 6 total matches. They squeezed it in. Lots of segments. It started on a high note and ended on a high note. And because we are such huge Murder Hawk fans, we're gonna dive right in to the main event. The Murder Hawk Monster. You got that?
I got it.
Is now finally has gold on AEW television. It is the IWGP championship, IWGP United States title. He's got it, but it's on Dynamite. And he came out to such a pop. He came out to the crowd hopping. He was firing away right away. And man, does it look good around his waist, holding the high. And he showed, man. He didn't just put down someone. He put down John Moxley, the top guy, who I thought is Mr. Protected. I love that. Before the match, we saw killer promos. If you watch Road 2, those back-to-back promo was amazing. And then they saw even another promo here
Moxley's
tonight.
buildup of Archer in that road, that was fantastic, right? I mean, he basically put Lance over such a huge way, even before the match started. We hear at Dynamite Download sing the Murder Hawks praises a lot. And SPD, I know going into this matchup, it felt like, I had a feeling, right? If you go back to last week's show, I had a feeling that this was going to be different. I know that we've seen a trend. We've seen that track record of the Murder Hawk getting those big shots, kind of building up his credibility and getting a big title shot and then somehow losing. I had a feeling that this match was going to be different. With his history and with this belt, with this being a Texas death match in his home state, going for getting that ultimate revenge against Mox here. I thought it was a brilliant decision to go this way.
Mhm.
You know, we here at Dynamite, we see it, right? Lance has earned this run. It'll be a lot of fun to see what's next for the Murder Hawk.
Right.
This match, dude, I had a feeling these two, when I'm thinking about certain wrestlers that respond better when they get busted open or get busted in the face, the Murder Hawk and Moxley are near the very top of that list, right? Both these guys almost feed off of that anger, that violence that comes, and what a
Right.
violent match this was.
Oh man, it was disgusting.
The
Disgusting.
forks, the rapid fire fork shots. That
I will
both
never
guys
look at a
gave.
fork the same.
Yeah, man, that was just a bloodbath. It was disgusting.
I don't
and
think
they
I'll ever
sold
look at
it.
a fork the same either after
Oh,
tonight,
no.
eating the tuna fish and
Let's take
peanut
a few
butter
bites.
combo. You
Yeah,
ready?
dude, let's
All
let's
right,
go.
So
Let's
Murder
see.
Hawk, this one's for you. You know, let's see if it's as bad as I think it's gonna be. You swear by it.
I'm gonna eat one on Friday because I just got home from out of town and there was no tuna, so I'll take a spoonful of peanut butter just as an appetizer with you, just to join you, help a brother out. But
All right.
let's see your
All right.
tuna and
I'm gonna
tuna
take a
fish
big.
and
I
peanut.
got a big mouth, y'all.
Why don't you
I
just
got a-
make it like a taco, crayfish, and eat it?
I'll eat it like a quesadilla, like you said, like a taco. Here we
Eat
go.
that.
All right.
Mmm.
You are a foodie. You
Oh
are
my
a huge
God.
foodie, so I want to know your true reaction.
Oh my God. Oh,
That good?
I don't know if
Lance just killed you.
So you're telling me you love it, man. So Bob,
Delicious.
what was some of your highlights of the match? Like
Yeah.
one of
Wash
my
it
favorite
down.
parts was when Lance Archer punched Moxley with the trash can lid. It echoed through
Oh,
the
that's
whole
awesome.
arena. I was like, this was sweet, man. And the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," so much, and it was well deserved. And
Oh, yeah.
you could tell. I mean, when Moxley's music hit, yes, the crowd's always going to be hot for Moxley, but as soon as Murder Hawks hit, man, they were
Pop
on
was
their
different
feet.
for him tonight.
They were on their feet.
Yeah, it was a different kind of pop, man, and that was an awesome spot. My favorite was probably when he kind of countered on the turn, like it was right there, right about to fall in. He counters and he throws Mox. I'm like, and I look at the clock. There's a minute left in the show, and I'm
Mhm.
like, there's nothing else is coming after that. That's it. It's game over. And that was awesome. I felt just awesome for Lance and just excited for him. And
Great ending.
I'm stoked to see where he's going to go now and what they're going to do and how they're going to book this. If he's going to be wrestling in New Japan or if they're going to be having him defend the belt on Dynamite more. Obviously,
How
they're
much?
going to next
How
week.
much has Moxley defended that belt outside of AEW over the past 6 to 8 months? Do you know?
I know he's done it at least a handful of times.
It would be
going-
good for Lance to defend it, globally, and then
Right.
keep bringing it, and it's showing gold around his waist. A more meaningful title than the FTW title, So, as we've seen the NWA Women's title, the FTW title, and now this title shown on AEW television, it's always great to have people who deserve gold show gold, and the champions right now are pretty indestructible in AEW. So this helps it so much. It was a great booking, and props to Lance Archer, man.
Yeah, thanks for taking
Great
the
match.
bloody image off the screen. Between that and the peanut butter tuna fish, I'm ready to throw up.
So how would you rate that peanut butter and tuna fish before we go on to the next match?
In the lead or delete.
bro, I took like a huge freaking
You ate
bite.
half the sandwich. Yeah.
I'll eat one on Friday. I'm not scared.
So
After I draft him.
It's still initiating a little bit of a gag reflex. I'm not gonna lie. But
Wow.
if I put a little bit on like a Triscuit, instead of eating like half of a can of tuna and peanut butter together, I could see why Lance likes that. Man, that is gnarly. But
Do you think the
I can
jalapeno
kinda- I can-
flavor?
yeah, I got
No
jalapeno.
problem.
So I kind of get like the peanut butter and like it's kind of I can go down that vibe. I can see why he's into it. A lot of protein.
Yeah.
But not for me. Thank God I had a little. Here's to the lounge daddy. I'll cheers to him.
Cheers to the lounge
I
daddy.
can get down with the lounge daddy vibe, Lance. I don't know if I can
Cheers.
get down with the peanut butter
Friday.
and tuna fish, but
Lounge daddies for life.
going into this match, man, I had that feeling. I just felt like Lance was going to seize the moment. We've been craving it for quite some time here at Dynamite Download, and did he do it in such an epic fashion? I mean, you go. My biggest. Oh my goodness, sorry guys.
You're good.
My biggest reaction to this really was, and I know immediately as the heel, maybe I'm going. It's the negative mentality, right? But I immediately went to that death match, barbed wire death match between Moxley and Omega.
Mhm.
And I felt like AEW, props to them for not being afraid to go back to that well of a death match and not running from that. And quite honestly, I felt like Moxley and Archer here kind of reestablished the benchmark for what a death match should be in AEW. They set the bar. The violence in this one was on point, like spilling into the crowd. I thought at the one point when Archer body slammed that fan into Moxley, I was like, that's going to be the coolest part of this match, right? But in reality, it was just one of many really, really cool moments in this match. The ending of the match I felt was absolutely perfectly executed. Lance, that choke slam into the barbed wire covered tables. Moxley literally being stuck by barbed wire where you can't get up. Just beautiful storytelling. No wonder why the Murder Hawk seized the top performer, seized the IWGP United States Championship. It's a beautiful thing. And honestly, Bonds, I know after we saw the Murder Hawk go down to Miro recently, it felt like I've been doing this show from day one with SPD, and this dude has been a Murder Hawk maniac from the get. It felt like for the first time I was trying to blow some wind in his sails as a Murder Hawk fan, because it felt like he was so deflated. It felt like he was so bummed. And this was such a needed rejuvenation to his momentum, wasn't it?
100% needed for sure. I mean, clean sweep for that top performer. You know, it's been one of those roller coasters of a ride with him. Like, I mean, if you haven't listened to the Unrestricted podcast, he was just recently on. He talks about the match between him and Ray Phoenix being one of his favorites in AEW. And that one absolutely blew the roof off the place. And I completely agree. And that was when he was going on that tear where he was my top performer week in and week out for a consistent like 4 or 5 weeks. And he was the backbone of AEW television for a while.
Yep.
And it's just the loss to Muro, I think, hurt him more than it helped him at that pay-per-view. And then now we're the crowd behind him and everyone behind him. I think we see that. And this loss, Moxley is not going to lose any steam. It's only going to elevate Lance even more. If Lance lost, I think it would have done more harm than good for sure. And they booked it right. They booked it correct. And, you know, we're all happy, including your belly with that tuna fish and peanut
Everybody
butter.
goes home happy at the end. They get a nice They get the W at the end. The crowd was obviously hot for most of this night, right? But seeing Lance, the hometown guy, come out on top, and it was hard, right? Because it's hard to root against John Moxley. This dude is.
It is right
This
with
guy
anybody.
is so good. Moxley is.
You're right.
Such a great first round draft pick.
Planting those
he's
seeds.
a top guy.
It's the number one overall.
The number one overall pick. No, I honestly do feel like, Moxley is universally recognized as a pro's pro. These two went at it. Again, I felt like they redefined the death match in AEW. So that to me was a big moment for this company. In a big stage. A lot of eyes on the product. A lot of people out there criticized AEW after what happened between Kenny Omega and Moxley. For them to, I mean, I wish I could wash the taste out of my mouth as emphatically as this match did when it came to the ending of that last death match we saw. Great job by both guys involved. JR described it at times during this match that it felt like it was a war. This didn't even feel like a pro wrestling match. This felt like an absolute beating. These two went toe-to-toe. SPD, I know that you usually like those long build-ups to a match. This was uncharacteristically not that way for AEW. Usually they like to do a lot of long builds. Did that impact this match at all? Do you feel like – I know that the Road 2 went a long way for you. Do you feel like what's the next chapter, I guess, for Lance Archer now that he's the champion? Do you see him getting into little matches like this, or do you see a big long-term feud emerging for Lance?
I don't see any feud with Moxley or a direct competitor. I think, like, as we saw at the end of Dynamite, next week's match versus a massive guy versus another massive guy, it's going to be an excellent first title defense match to really get it back in and Lance on continued push on TV. It's great, man. I cannot wait. What emerges from it, it's hard to book. I was happy and surprised that we saw this, and I hope it's one of those. He doesn't necessarily have to defend it constantly, but at least you see them carry it out. It makes his matches even more meaningful. Not that they weren't, but more meaningful. So absolutely great. And what other was speaking of death matches. We're going to get one next week with the Painmaker and Nick Gage, which we got announced after the first Labor of Jericho's Chapter 1 was announced, was tonight, and now we got Chapter 2 announced afterwards by MJF. This was such a great way to start off the show. The crowd was absolutely on fire for Jericho. It was so hot singing along. It was a great way to pop. And then there was not only the match in the ring, but there was the match on commentator that I texted you guys. MJF versus the three guys on commentary was going head-to-head this whole time. It was absolutely pure gold. It added such an extra element to that. This match, my favorite match is starting to be the first match of the night. I mean, it's hard to say it after what we saw in the main event. It's just because of the commercials. Because as Team Babyface, the first match gets no commercials. As Team Heel, you like the main events because the commercial is the biggest heel in the business right now.
That's right.
So they ruined our DMD match. Son. They ruined our DMD match. They ruined the main event because of those commercials. I mean, you got to capitalize on it. I get it, but it is a true heel move to do that. What'd you guys think of the opening, man?
Oh, great opening match. Chris Jericho held his own. Obviously, he was getting smacked in the elbow constantly by Shawn Spears. And Spears is a psychopath. He kept doing that weird thing with his eye the whole time. And it was like he was just really, really enjoying the pain he was inflicting on Chris Jericho. You could tell. He was thoroughly enjoying himself. And the commentary team was just as important as the match, in my opinion. It was because we're seeing the whole Pinnacle versus the world mentality thing. And MJF's the ultimate. He's the leader of the Pinnacle. He's the ultimate guy. He's the ultimate blue chipper in the company. So you have him kind of going up against everybody else and kind of owning it and not caring. Like Tony Schiavone will rip on him and he'll just be like, "Oh, Tony, I thought we were buds. Like you're a real jerk." And it's super funny and it works. And this whole feud works. And it's good to see how it's playing out because it's really fun.
Absolutely, man. I think that the MJF, this dude, he continues to find new ways to, redefine how good he is, right? I mean, it's just, we've seen him push himself, whether it's the dancing with Jericho or
he won
his match, his feud with Dictator John. Just this guy continues to just find new ways to entertain, to show another skill set that he has. It's no shock that we've seen Jericho and MJF kind of paralleled off of each other. How often do we love to see Jericho when he joins the commentary booth, right? This is just another parallel for MJF to show, just like we see with Jericho doing, right? Jericho is now bringing back the Painmaker persona, right? When you think about all the things that Jericho, all the skills, all the personas, all the incredible moments
list of Jericho,
the career that he's had, the list of Jericho. when you think about all this man has done, it's absolutely mind-blowing how he continues to find ways to be creative.
Continue to change the landscape.
And you're already seeing with the young MJF, you're seeing that desire to want to challenge himself to do new things. I mean, what a brilliant from me as the captain of Team Heel, MJF, this guy is a dream pick. Because this guy
You're going to go all in with your picks. MJF and DMD back to back.
This guy, MJF, when you think about it, right? Like, just what a mastermind he is, right? The stakes for tonight's match, Sean Spears gets to use a chair. Jericho doesn't, right? So the chairman gets to use the chair. Jericho doesn't. Now he sets the stage for next week where Jericho gets to go into a no disqualification, no rules match with the king of hardcore, Nick Gage. So this is going to be one of those things where it's just like MJF is constantly raising the stakes. The trials of Jericho, to me, have potential to be even more exciting than this Pinnacle versus Inner Circle feud. I think that this mini portion of the bigger feud is just has me absolutely hooked. I love it. I can't wait to see what like crazy things that MJF thinks of and how Jericho finds ways to overcome the odds. This is absolutely a beautiful storytelling.
It's all, it's so interesting of like what else is ahead and, what other 3 matches is he going to book against Jericho? And hopefully the ultimate payoff will be at All Out when we are all there.
Oh yeah,
that's
baby.
Right. Team Dynamite download will be there baby. Friday night Rampage and Sunday night All Out in Chicago. Be ready for Team Dynamite download, and we're gonna be there 44. That's right, buckle up. 44 days is when Rampage is, so that's right around the corner. And so I know you promised us when we're at those events, you're gonna lead a conductor. The conductor Crayfish, I'm going to get you a hat. I'm going to get you a conductor hat and a train whistle, so you go woo 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 the whole time because you're leading the way.
I like it.
So we saw Wheeler Yuta again show up, with the best friends. I'm confused. His in-ring work is good for sure. It's not standout to me, but I don't understand this best friends pairing and all that. Just like I'm the JR. I didn't understand that. All that.
Yeah,
but
he was asking about it. Who is this Yuta guy, and why is he with the best friends? I like that.
Right. So clearly, I'm not doing my homework like JR doesn't do his homework because he's talking about the WWE Dynamite. He almost slipped again tonight. But anyways, let's talk about the match. Darby Allin bruised up ribs. The conductor of that. I don't know. I felt like after the Gallows and Kazarian match, the crowd got sucked out a little bit, and then the crowd got re-put in as soon as Owens, OC, and Sting did their gimmick kicks. I think that's when the crowd started popping and coming back to live, and that was a funny moment for sure. Darby was like, "What the heck's going on?" But how do you think your boy Darby did tonight, Crayfish?
Come on, man. I mean, like when you look at for me, it's not necessarily even about the match itself, right? It's about the fact that this dude went back out there after what we just saw last week in last week's main event. The hell this guy went through last week, and he's still out there going toe to toe with a guy who's young and hungry. And Yuta, to his credit, I liked some of his offense tonight. It's not just acrobatics, it's not just fun and flash. I liked how Yuta was digging those elbows into Darby's ribs when he was stretching them out, right? Like there was some smart offense in this match. But I mean, for me, the takeaway again is just that I've been saying it all along. I know there are a lot of baby faces in the landscape of AEW, and we'll talk a lot about your boy Hangman Adam Page, who again would be an awesome first overall pick. But Hangman Adam Page being a guy who's easy to root for. Jungle Boy, another guy, but I'm telling you, when you talk about people who are in this company who are easy to root for, Darby Allin is right near that top of the list, guys. To me, I think that Darby, if he's not the top guy, he certainly has an argument for it. This guy has won me over with his body of work. SPD, for me, when we started Dynamite Download, I was kind of iffy on Darby. I was kind of wondering, like, is he more gimmick than substance? You know what I mean? Is this just a guy who he just gets by being unique? But he doesn't. When you look at his body of work and you really you see the main events this guy's had, when you see the matches this guy has been able to pull off, the big moments, the memorable moments that he's had, and quite honestly, the ability to maintain his star power while using his platform to push other people. I think that Darby Allin is to me, he's as good as it gets when it comes to a true baby face in professional wrestling today. Baby faces are so hard to do well because they can be corny. They can be cheesy. They can be, they can kind of rub you the wrong way if you push too hard. I know Cody is an example of people who are starting to think that Cody's teetering on being a heel sometimes because of how hard of a baby face he gets that John Cena thing going, right? Darby feels very different to me. He feels so truly uniquely, I don't know, that underdog, that vibe to Darby. He talks about that relentless mentality to Darby. That's his focal point, is being relentless.
Right.
And I think that's such a great way to categorize his character. It's so easy to root for this guy. No matter how many times he gets knocked down, he keeps getting back up. It was nice to see him come out and get a W tonight. I know Yuta is getting a little bit of rub, seeing them more with the best friends. How are you guys feeling about that pairing? Obviously, Bonds, I know some of it almost feels like out of necessity, right? Because of injuries that we've seen.
Yeah. I think that's kind of exactly what's going on. I think if Trent was healthy, I don't know if Yuta would be with them at all, or maybe he'd be having those matches instead. But I like what Yuta brings to the table. I think he's pretty good offensively. He's smart in the ring. He does some good stuff. This was a gutsy performance by Darby, but I don't get the pairing with the best friends. I don't understand it. I don't think it's necessary. I think they're just trying to maybe get him over a little bit by having him count with Cassidy. Right. Do that. But to me, it's just like, I mean, let him get by on his own merits. I think people respect good in ring work in AEW. Like, the fans are smart like that, and they respect that. And if he goes out there and has good matches, which he's done, in the last 2 weeks, he's had 2 good matches. So I think that alone would make me more inclined to be okay, excited about this. But, right now, to me, this was just another okay match. It was a good match, or recovery match for Darby after taking a beating and showing, hey, look at how tough I am. I'm going against this guy and he's going after my ribs and he's playing it the way he should be, but I'm able to overcome that. And, that's what he's good at. And, that's what they showed tonight. And it was a good story in a short match.
And there, I think that you got to get Darby. The Darby Express does not get derailed, right? It's not getting derailed no matter what anybody says. So you got to keep that momentum going. He beats Ethan Page last week, and quickly I think that we move on to a new chapter. Darby's moving forward. The momentum is nonstop. Who's next to get in his path? Certainly, it was interesting and fun to see Orange Cassidy and Stinger get into it at ringside. Do you see any meat to this feud, SPD? And what do you think about that fun pairing that we got to see, that moment between Orange Cassidy and Sting that I felt kind of got the crowd back into it after what you said was a little bit of a lull due to the Good Brothers segment earlier in the show?
It definitely reignited the crowd. I mean, it was a fun moment that the crowd always pops for, and I've said it before. OC works so much better with a crowd.
Yes,
and we saw it again later in his match with the Blade. Yep. But that gimmick is a crowd-based gimmick, and man, they were kind of a little quiet after that Kazarian Gallows match, but then it got reignited from an awesome segment that we'll talk about later. But that was I don't think there's any meat on the bones for any kind of matches with that. I'm personally really not interested in seeing OC versus Sting. 2 top baby faces in the company go head to head.
Yeah,
doesn't really work. But speaking of the crowd, that was the popped for that. Let's shift gears, keep things rolling on our show. That the DMD chants and the DMD pop was deafening tonight. And
say that again.
Were
brother.
they ever, man? The DMD chants were deafening tonight. And and that was, and we knew that was coming. And it's you pair her against the top heel, one of the top heels in the women's division, Nyla Rose, which it would be hard for me. I can't see Nyla as a babyface personally. So that's a challenge to her that I want to see that kind of transformation. So we can keep DMD a heel. And it was great to see Rebel come out there and kind of assist her and do some things like that. But she retained in a convincing way at the end. The overall match was not as much or not as executed as well as I expected. But you take down, as you say, the gatekeeper. You definitely have a notch in your belt that not many people do have. So props to the DMD for her first successful title defense versus the gatekeeper Nyla Rose. I got that peanut butter and tuna stuck.
You all right, bud? Yeah, you all right? Bonds, before I go on my everybody's favorite segment of the week, the crayfish DMD
The 20-minute
rant.
DMD segment.
What go ahead, jump in a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us your breakdown of the match itself, right? Because me, I felt like the character work, and I'm more intrigued by how this impacts DMD long term, and I feel like I'm really on board with this chapter closing. It was great for Britt to get that W against Nyla, which has kind of been that kind of hanging over her head, that Britt's never had that big W. She's kind of had that, she lost to Thunder. She lost to Nyla in the tournament. A lot of people wondering, can Britt really hold her own in the ring? For me, this was a big moment for Britt to kind of get that W, check that off the list, and move on to the next one. And it also allowed Britt to kind of experiment into the babyface realm and see how that went, because Nyla is, as SPD said, Nyla is very much a heel in the landscape of the company. There's just no way around it. The native beast is a dominant force. And so having her against the DMD allowed us to get a taste for what Britt Baker as a babyface could be like. Yep. But I personally, I had to talk myself off the ledge. I see that this is more of just an appetizer of potential down the road. I think that they're gonna pivot after Nyla Rose, and Britt will bring her edge back with her next feud. Let's talk before we get into that portion of it, though, and before we get into how this impacts the women's division and the DMD, everyone's favorite moving forward. I want to hear your take on the match itself, because you're our lead writer. I want to hear how you would break this one down.
I personally didn't really enjoy this match, unfortunately. It really felt flat for me. It was very slow paced, felt sloppy, and I don't think the pairing of Britt Baker and Nyla Rose worked from a technical standpoint, which is unfortunate and disappointing for her first title defense. Mm-hmm. It just felt like they were both looked winded after about halfway through. After the picture-in-picture, the match looked over, and it just looked like the offense on both sides wasn't clicking correctly. It just looked like something was off. Towards the end of the match, I don't know if you guys saw this as well, but it felt like everything at the end, like for the last 2 minutes or so of the match, looked like they were just kind of going through the motions, trying to find a spot to be done on. And it just didn't flow well. Like it didn't feel like a title match. It felt like just a random match on Dark. It didn't feel like there wasn't any hype or pressure. There was hype from the crowd, and there was hype from Britt early on, but it just didn't. It felt like a transitional feud, and it needed to not feel like that because it's for a title. Right. And I was just disappointed in it overall.
I think what do you guys think? I think that's fair, man. Sure. As the resident DMD fanboy here, I've always tried to defend Britt's in-ring work. Yeah, and I was hoping that a victory over the gatekeeper of the division would kind of silence some more critics, right? Unfortunately, although it's a W in the record books, it just kind of felt like this one never shifted into the next gear. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, it just didn't feel like Nyla felt comfortable, and I don't know why that's the case, right? I don't know if Nyla is the type, and some people are just like this. Like Nyla maybe is better if she's a front runner, right? Like if she's somebody who she knows is going to be dominant and who's going to get the W and can toss you around and exert her, make it her style match. And maybe you get a different side of Nyla out of that. But, we saw Britt basically, Bonds, you've said it, Britt eviscerate Nyla last week. I mean, like, it was cold-blooded. Some of that promo, like, it felt like she was like gutting Nyla in front of the world last week. And maybe there's something there. Maybe there's Nyla just didn't have that it going into the match. And if that's like, I love that if that's the story, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm overanalyzing, but I think that maybe the DMD got into Nyla's head a little bit because she certainly seemed shook. She didn't seem like the native beast that I've been used to seeing. It didn't. There have been times in this feud it didn't feel like these two were clicking. But in
the whole feud, it felt like that.
In the ring, I feel like that was even more evident. And I don't know if that's because you have two alphas who are going toe-to-toe against each other. And SPD, we're seeing when we talk about the women's division, there are certain women who jump out to you as people who are alpha personalities who won't back down.
Right.
I would think Jade is that type of persona as well, right? But on that short list, Nyla and the DMD are certainly there. And so maybe there was a little bit of that butting of the heads. Now, there were moments that worked, right? There were moments in this match that worked. And, to me, I enjoyed the Rebel DMD, the continuation of that story. I personally think that there's a lot there between Rebel and Britt, and I like that, and I want that to continue to be a part of the DMD's rise to greatness, is her using Rebel in a lot of ways. And I think that Rebel getting involved in this match helped the overall match. It led to some of the cool moments, right? Where we saw the Eddie Guerrero spot with the title belts getting tossed. Love that. That was cool. And it was one of the moments where a referee distraction actually made sense and helped the product rather than detracted from it, which I know is a huge criticism of yours, Bonds, is when the referees are incompetent and like we saw in the Orange Cassidy
Sean
Blade.
Spears tapping out for 15 seconds.
That Orange Cassidy Blade, it wasn't. It was the Frankie Kazarian and Luke Gallows match where literally even JR was like, you don't see Carl Anderson hugging Frankie Kazarian off on the apron. You don't just see him grabbing him from behind. Like even JR had to say something. But this was a moment where the referee distraction made sense. Yeah. It helped the story. And it worked. I think everybody out there, even though we try to pride ourselves on being a very positive discussion, a positive forum for AEW, I think everybody out there, SPD, is ready for Britt to move on to a new challenger. Now, whether that's Ty Conti, Chris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, there's a lot of names that would certainly get people intrigued again. But I feel like this feud, I'm glad that it's over with. I'm excited to see what Britt's championship reign has in store beyond the Native Beast.
I mean, you got a lot of your favorite guys showing, or your wrestlers, male and female. So this is a back-to-back segment. Back-to-back segment that we're going to talk about is the Andrade El Idolo interview and the return of the full, healthy Death Triangle. The Death Triangle hides from no one. And I think Pac was the star of this segment as well. And I like the back and forth banter that these guys are going. And that's what I said last week. And I said that he's not going to join Death Triangle. He's going to face them. And it's going to steal the show and essentially challenge them leader versus leader for, the custody of the Lucha Bros, essentially something like that. Which down the line, I think would be a pretty compelling heel turn by the Lucha Bros if they join Andrade.
Yes.
And then you have Pac be this just mean babyface because he can just, you heard the crowd when the Death Triangle's music hit, the crowd was on their feet and they were chanting Penta. You're right. You you are the Pac fanboy. I'm the Ray Phoenix Mark. Bonds, maybe you are the
You could be
Zero Meadow Mark.
I'll
So there we go.
mark
got
out
our
for
own
all
death-
three of those guys. They're pretty
got our
Yeah,
awesome.
own
dude,
death
I mean,
triangle
think
right
about-
here on Dynamite Download.
Think
Oh,
about like for me, dude. I love the segment, right, SPD, and I want to hear you guys chat about that. But for me, like all I can think about when I see Andrade, Ray Phoenix, Penta, and Pac all on the same screen, and like I'm just like, pinch me, like literally just pinch me, man. Like this is ridiculous. What AEW has been able to do, man. The talent that this company has been able to pull together, to have all four of those guys involved in the same feud together. All I can really think about is how excited I am for those future matches, dude. Like these matches, these matches are going to be incredible. I cannot wait to see these guys get in the ring with each other. And if it does, and if this plays out the way that you and I have talked about, where Andrade goes through Phoenix and Penta, which ultimately leads to him going one-on-one against Pac at All Out, dude, that matchup to me would.
You better save your voice.
I don't know how much I can take, man.
Gotta drink that Gollum juice, bro.
Oh my God, what a match that would be! Just the
Well, I told you got to start prepping your screams while you're doing the yard work. No,
I should. Yeah.
cut the weeds. The weeds. You got to practice every weekend to get your stamina on your voice.
I'll definitely work on it this weekend. I promise. I'll get out there. I'll start doing
Your
it.
neighbors are going to be like, "What is going on?"
We're gonna re-landscape one of our garden beds, so I'll get into it. All right. Plant the ivy!
Guys, what did you think about Chavo coming in today?
Ooh,
That was great. We got a Kerwin White came back.
Beautiful.
He's going to be managing.
That was a surprise
Andrade
pop,
now.
and I think that's good because the Vicky thing was fine, and I think you kind of segue away from that debut. But Chavo he's so good on the mic and clear on the mic, and Andrade is improving, but I think the delivery of Chavo will help him elevate him even more if versus Andrade speaking, So yeah. I think Andrade can and will do it, and it will still be meaningful. But Chavo's, presence and his delivery tonight was really well done.
How great is Penta says though, right? So I mean, like like having that guy who's right by your side. And not having it necessarily, I mean, like not having it have to be Vicky Guerrero, right? Like bringing Chavo in, I think kind of allows Andrade to have a little bit more of a cool factor, right? Like Vicky kind of has that like old shrill mom vibe, right? Where you're just like annoying, and that's a good thing. That's why she's a Hall of Famer, but she pulls away. She pulls away from some of the Andrade's like swagger, right? She pulls away a little bit from his cool vibe, and Chavo can definitely keep that cool vibe going with Andrade. I like that pairing. It's a nice move by AEW, a low key, nice pickup. I think that's going to help Andrade a lot because they both can kind of have that swagger when they come out, right? They both can kind of have that like, poppy, kind of cut, like kind of, that little bit of the and I liked what Chavo was talking about tonight, kind of like, basically he called it out, saying like, why are you guys working for Pac? And I think that there's some cool seeds being planted here, SPD. I could potentially see what you're seeing. Do the Lucha Bros eventually turn on Pac and join up with Andrade? Would be interesting for sure to see that play out. I think that could be a fun like way to pivot and change up things with the Death Triangle.
And change
maybe they were
landscape.
Maybe the Death Triangle was just too good for us to ever really see come to fruition. Maybe we break it up before another injury gets involved. I think that might not be a bad idea.
At this point,
I hope not, man. This would have been the most unstoppable group that has ever assembled in AEW. And
I know.
Speaking of some swagger, I want to talk about this Kenny Omega Hangman promo because we are getting the stage set for next week at Fight for the Fallen. The 5-on-5 match is going to kick things off. The building blocks are set for the road to All Out, essentially. And Don Callis was the savior of this segment. After
As
the match.
always.
He was definitely the best part. and Hangman came out to confront to another huge pop as expected, and then the Dark Order. The whole thing was kind of a predictable segment, but we absolutely loved it. And the match beforehand fell flat for me, which we don't have to dive too much into it. We all kind of agree it fell flat.
It was
but
a bit
the
of
segment
a bummer,
was the
right?
savior.
It was
the
a bit
savior of a segment.
Yes, it was a bit of a bummer to see that the Elite Hunter, this gimmick that we've really been I think all of us have said, like, man, Frankie Kazarian's on. He's on to something here, right?
Yeah, I love this gimmick.
For him to lose straight up to Luke Gallows, it did feel a little weird. It felt a little off. I know there was interference involved and stuff, but it was just like, man, it felt like Frankie was on to something with this Elite Hunter gimmick. Let him win. Let him get over on Luke. What is that going to do to Luke Gallows? I mean, it's not like the win or the loss isn't going to really change anything.
Right.
But I agree with you that Don Callis, when he came out, he saved this whole and it became about the post-match antics, right, Bonds? I mean, I know you had to be excited because you love anytime you get a chance to hear Don Callis work the microphone, and he really set the stage for what turned into being one of the most entertaining segments of the night.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. A great segment because Don Callis again is a wordsmith, and he and Kenny are a perfect combination. Like what they say together works, but Don is just able to go out there and just kind of rip into you in such a funny and personal way to everybody who goes out there. And like he just smokes everybody. And I'm gonna give AEW some props here. They have so many managers right now that are so
it's a lost art, man. It's a lost art.
There's so many they have. And they've even stacked up managers from WWE and Impact, people that have been there and like gotten all these people on their team and like and managers are very important and they help. And we talked about, I don't want to get off topic here, but like the big guy in WWE has a manager now, and look at how much better he is. So
true.
It's very important. A good manager can make or break somebody, and Don Callis is. I'm hard pressed to find anybody that's doing a better job than him right now. It's awesome.
Well said.
We get to see it every week. It's great.
Well said. I mean, Kenny's hilarious in his own right, always super entertaining. But I feel like Don Callis really, has been an unsung hero of the Kenny Omega reign. This title reign, he's made Kenny's dynamic, his persona, that's just so much more exciting. And like you said, he's a wordsmith, man. He just knows how to play the crowd. He knows how to manipulate situations. The invisible hand is always at play. Really thinking that like I'm intrigued here with how Don and the Elite are going to react when they finally meet their match, right? I think as the Dark Order and Hangman start to show that they're not backing down and that they might have the upper hand, and all of a sudden the Elite they're in a situation they're not used to being in. I think that's going to be fascinating to see what happens.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see 10 out there.
I didn't see 10 either. I saw Stu.
So maybe something happened, but they announced it's going to be Stu and Uno and the recruitment specialist plus Hangman, which is obviously great. You got 2 seasoned tag teams in Hangman's corner as well. And so I think we're going to see Hangman and the Dark Order take this victory. And, speaking of seasoned tag teams, oh my, we are finally getting this match next week on a pay-per-view quality card. How many of you out there would pay money to watch next week's show? Raise your hand. Right. And we are getting this on free TV. We have one of the most stacked shows of AEW that I can remember.
About the commercials,
that I can remember. I mean, we'll go through the card at the end of this, but this is.
Why can't this show be 3 hours?
I tweeted this out for us that this should be a 60-man Iron Man tag team match, and I just want to see. I don't want this match to the end. This is the match that never ends. It can go on, and I mean, this press conference was short and sweet. It got to the point. I wish they would have done this in the ring. I think that would have been more powerful and hyped us up even more. Not that we need any more hype, because it would have been really cool to do this in the ring and then have a brawl. And, Santana, now that essentially Young Bucks don't have any next opponents. Maybe it is the Dark Order, but Santana saying you guys are just a pit stop on our way to tag team gold. He was pure fire as always. Santana is just spitting games, making it real, bringing out the truth in his promos, and that's the best kind of acting, the best kind of promos, best kind of anything is when you bring the true you and the truth out there. And Dax saying 3 things that only matter most: God, his family, and wrestling. And so these are 2 mano-a-mano guys. You know, they're tag teams, but you have these 2 stars, Santana and Dax, really making it hit home and making this match just so much more meaningful and exciting that we can't wait for.
Oh, it's getting so personal in these promos. And it's really cool because you keep seeing Dax saying like, hey man, we're not that different. Like we're
I
we're
like that. And that's true.
And it's like, but Santana's getting like offended.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, this is what I dealt with.
You have no idea.
You have no
Yeah,
idea.
You have
like,
no idea how different we are. Right.
It's
The
awesome.
streets of New York versus, the back, woods of
back country. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's different lifestyles and it's cool. And I think they mesh well because of that, because they're so similar and they're so different. Like in the ring, they're gonna rip each other apart, and that's what we signed up for, man.
Yes,
and that's
sir.
why it's gonna be great.
Yes, sir. I'm right there with Pen, man. I think that this is going to be a match where you let these 2 teams go at each other and just show and that's to me what Dax is talking about is he's hitting at that at their core. Both of these teams, they have that chip on their shoulder. I think to be a tag team specialist, you kind of have to have that. In today's day and age, tag teams don't get the love that they should. And, to be a proud tag team, you got to kind of have that extra edge to you to make it in today's world, to make it and be a big stars like FTR and like Santana Ortiz, guys who are known from regardless of company that you've been in, man. These guys are respected and admired for what they do.
Yep.
And I think that like what's so compelling, and SPD, you talked about it, that authenticity that just absolutely permeates these promos is that it truly does feel authentic. You truly do feel 2 teams that take a lot of pride in what they do.
Yep.
That aren't afraid to say that they've worked their asses off to be the best in the world, and quite honestly aren't going to back down from a fight with anybody. So you have 2 teams that do mirror each other in a lot of ways. Now I do think that with the momentum that Santana Ortiz have really been able to build, it does feel like maybe even, and this is as an FTR guy, it does feel like maybe Santana Ortiz might have the edge right now. Santana seems to be, like you said, man, this dude seems to be at enough, like he ain't getting rattled, man. So these guys they're just not gonna get rattled. You can tell their focus. They want blood, bro. This is gonna be a hell of a fight. No, this is gonna be a hell of a fight.
It's a win-win for us all. That's all we know is that it's a complete win-win for us all. So the last match we're going to talk about is the Orange Cassidy and Blade match. We had to go a little out of order. We usually go through the card, sequential, but because of how hot that main event was,
got to go with that.
We had to go with that. I mean, it was just pure great, and we had to get that sandwich out of the way for Crayfish. But Orange Cassidy showed up twice on Dynamite, and so did Blade. Blade attacked him earlier in the night, and he thought he knocked him down pretty good, but Orange Cassidy kind of made a surprise appearance. And I honestly thought that Orange Cassidy was going to get a quick win out of a surprise, put an elbow pad on, maybe Superman punch, quick 1-2-3 pin because of the timing. I would have been fine with that, but it actually turned out to be a pretty back and forth match.
Yeah.
I really liked Blade. I really like that this mini singles run that Blade is going on, his mercenary gimmick. And he's really impressive, and he's really great in the ring with, his emotions and very powerful moves. And, it's a good pairing to really get some heat on the Blade because OC is, like I said earlier, so over with the fans. I mean, clearly he's definitely one of the top baby faces on there as well. But what did you guys think of this match, Bonds?
Oh, I loved it. Like you said, the Blade is really impressive in the ring. I love how powerful he makes stuff look because he's so quick.
Yeah.
Pound for
Great
pound, pound for
Yeah.
pound, he feels like almost like a Cesaro, dude. This dude is just shredded. He's just like he's a powerhouse, man. The sleeper is one of the strongest guys on the roster.
Yeah, and he really held his own against Cassidy, who was just we just talked about. He was just in the main event, so like this guy he held his own really well. This is a fun match, back and forth. There's a lot of shenanigans, which is always cool. And then we got to see Cassidy come out on top as the true baby face and, get a huge pop from the crowd at the end. So it was a really cool match. Worked well. I like the mercenary gimmick. I can't wait for Butch to be back, though, so they can kind of get back to their thing. I love those two together.
I love Butch and Blade.
But I like that they're making it work and they're giving him an opportunity to do something else. And I think he's really running with it and showing, like, hey, when that tag team thing isn't working anymore, like, I got some single stuff I can do, and it's really fun. I like him as his character work. It's really good.
I agree with you on that too, and I think the AEW's done that in a lot of instances. You see what's going on with Top Flight. They have Dante out there hustling.
Good point.
Making singles, doing a lot of singles action right now. We've seen Max Caster when Bowens went down. AEW does a nice job of allowing just because one of the teammates gets hurt doesn't mean you can't utilize that talent and see why not allow that to be.
Why take two guys out for 8 months?
Why not see what this guy can do solo? And with you have the bunny in his corner, that the bunny is always going to find ways to get the fans riled up and kind of get the emotions going in a match. Blade looks like a killer, bro. This dude is absolutely just. Like you could tell too with like this mercenary gimmick, this no nonsense, just razor focus kind of I like that vibe that he's given off. Now again, I can't wait for Butch to come back because I feel like Butch and Blade complement each other so well.
Right.
Yeah, they're great.
But it was good to see him get an opportunity in a match with Orange Cassidy. I'm still like, I don't know where SPD. I know this has been something that you and I have talked about in previous shows. I don't know where they're going with Orange Cassidy right now.
It's a roller coaster for sure, and we're all on the ride with our hands up.
It just feels like no matter, like, obviously they know they throw him out there, the fans are going to love to see him, right? He's always entertaining. He's always a great time. I'm ready for him to have something to do, though.
More concrete.
I'm ready for him to have something to do as far as give him somebody to feud with, give him some motivation. Orange Cassidy, now that crowds are back, he's an important piece of the puzzle for AEW. And I think that
real.
The pops are real, dude. They're there.
Yeah.
And I know that you've dabbled and you've seen where he fits in the card. I think that you have enough of a sample size between his feud with Jericho, his opportunities at titles with TNT championships and the world championships. You have enough of a sample size to say what you have with Orange Cassidy. Now you need to hone in on saying, okay, how do we utilize that in a way that helps other stars too? And I think that maybe this is an example of that short term, using Orange Cassidy's star to allow people to see what Blade can do in a solo capacity isn't a bad idea. If they continue down that path, I'm okay with that. But I do think something needs to emerge out of these little matchups with Orange Cassidy that means something bigger to the landscape of AEW. You got to have this guy focused on a goal of some sort.
Right. Because right now he's toiling between two different roles in the divisions. You know what I mean? He's going between like upper mid card to top tier contender, and it's like you can't keep just bouncing back and forth like that. And because eventually the like, you're not the nostalgia, but the it'll wear off. Nobody's gonna care that like you're having a good match with Orange Cassidy anymore because he's not involved in anything important.
Exactly. If you're beating the mid card guys, but you can never beat the top card guys, then like what does that really mean for you in the big picture, right? Like I just feel like that kind of it takes a little bit of that rub away from an Orange Cassidy run because you feel like this dude has a ceiling. And I'm curious to see if AEW thinks that. I want to see him I want to see something emerge for him by All Out. I think that you need to utilize Orange Cassidy, especially with live crowds coming back, guys. The guy does get pops, unlike most. And again, I struggle a little bit right now with Orange Cassidy, and it feels weird for me because there are certain characters like Jungle Boy and Darby Allin that we talk about that just no matter what, they always know how to click with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example of one. I'm having a hard time getting invested in him right now. That's all.
I think down the line, it would be interesting to see him versus Miro, maybe a feud for that. I don't see him going over against Miro, but it would be another convincing heel, really put fire on Miro's heel run, which I think he needs, even though the crowd is so hot for him. But, I mean, we're going to see Miro in 2 weeks defend his title, but we still don't have a contender yet, which will be interesting, which we can maybe discuss later on Friday Night Flights of Fights. Who do you think Miro is going to be the next? It could be, it could be a pivot, and I think that is a main event kind of match. But looking at the card as we transition to next week as we wrap things up.
Oh, what a show.
This is a pay-per-view quality card. What is the main event? Okay, so we got Jurassic Express with Christian Cage versus the HFO. FTR and PMP, the Painmaker with Chapter 2 versus Gage. We have Archer defending his title, and we have the Elite versus Hangman and Dark Order. I mean,
wow.
Throw
What
the
a
dice.
show.
Anything could be the main event. But, honestly,
I think you got to
feel
do.
like
I think
matches
you
are
do
going to get buried. They're going to get,
the
I think.
Elite versus Dark Order should be the main event, right?
I think it has to be just because it's
start
got
off the
so much
show
gold.
with Jericho again.
No, I think you start off with Jurassic Express. Have everyone singing, oh.
I feel like that could be more of a middle of the show type of match.
Uplift.
I feel like you start off. I don't know. I think that Jericho and Gage would get the crowd popped.
How do you follow PNP and FTR though?
That's a main event.
That's why you have that match to start the show, and there's everything else will feel disappointing.
That's the start of the show.
Yeah.
That's the start of the show.
But so much is going to get buried. I feel like
FTR
it's hard to, when you have a home run show like this, some of these matches are going to get lost in transition, sadly, when any one of these could be the main event.
That's a beautiful problem to have, isn't it?
It is,
It's
yeah.
a great problem to have. And man, we're going to All Out, and we are so geeked to see what that show will be like.
If this was the card at All Out, we would be so excited.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Exactly.
AEW setting the bar so high with their weekly content. And again, not every match is a home run, a banger match, right? Not every match is going to be this show-stealing match, but so they are so consistent with putting together an overall quality show. Overall, even in moments like we talked about where Kaz lost to Lou Gallows, right? That felt deflating. Quickly, Don Callis comes out, Hangman comes out, crowd's on fire, right? They know how to read the crowd and audiences, and it's evident to me that the show is structured in a way that's thoughtful and how you should, like we talk about, what should start the show, what should end the show. They play to these ebbs and flows really well, and I think that putting that extra time and the energy into, is this a cohesive product,
right,
makes a big difference to the overall vibe of the show. I know that going into this last week's show, the card was, there's some big matches, but overall there were some that were like, okay, this is okay, like nothing that's like mind blowing, right? It ended up being a great overall show. Next week's show with the card that you just announced, SPD, I am at a loss for words at how great that show can be. That is going to be an absolute home run.
That's going to be an understatement. I mean, they haven't even announced a women's match, which we, hopefully we'll get one of those as well. And man, it's a tough one, man. Like I said, they need that third hour. They need more time because I want every one of these matches to go the distance and not have commercial breaks. But we'll talk more a little bit about this as we wrap things up on Friday night, because we're going to do our draft. Like if you ever joined us earlier, Friday Night Flights and Fights at 10 p.m. is going to be our first ever draft. And the order was picked tonight. We got Bonds, Booking by Bonds,
First
pick
pick.
number 1, followed by SPD, pick number 2, and then Team Heel pulls up the snake, getting picks 3 and 4 out of there. So join us live 10 p.m. for our Dynamite download draft, our first ever draft. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and then we want you guys to vote on whose team is your favorite team. Who do you think maybe won the draft? Give us some grades, your letter grades on that as well. But we're gonna wrap things up and right off to the sunset. You guys know where to find us online. Thank you so much. I'm looking so forward to Fridays
Fridays
night.
are so
I know
fun.
you guys are gonna be over analyzing all week, texting each other sidebar. I know you two heels are gonna be on the sidebar chat saying, "Oh, if you take him, I'll take this," and make these side deals.
That's not how. No, none of that.
No,
None
we
of
haven't
that.
done any of that yet.
No.
But you guys know where to find us. Can't wait for that draft, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
See you guys.
Bang.